Welcome to the Already Not Yet.
Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. It's a great song by Johnny Cash. Never really paid attention to his words. I know a lot of people in America don't spend a lot of time really thinking about words anymore. There's a reason why he wrote some of the songs he did and sang them. He was trying to tell you something. In fact, you've had a lot of people trying to tell you something for a very long time. For a long time. But you kept on running, didn't you? You keep on running. Running like a shadow running from the light on the dirt. Why do you think that is? And why do you think it is that so many people have been warning you and you didn't believe them? You never do. And then the consequences start happening and you want to blame everyone else but take responsibility for what you've done. Oh, I think you already know. It's what causes you to run on for a long time. What causes you to run on for a long time is your pride. Because that's what you care about more than anything. Your pride. You'll do anything to hold on to your pride. Including throw an entire nation or nations under the bus that you drive with your avarice and hubris. As I'm walking around here 3 times tonight, I've heard gunshots. Now that's not very many. Oh, but it'll pick up. It always does. Because that's an example of pride and where it leads you. You'll do anything but accept responsibility for your own actions, including kill, steal, destroy, accuse, and slander. But you can't run on much longer. And when you can't, and the moment arrives, you'll be meeting that shadow in the dust of the ground. And you'll be going to where the father of lies led you in your pride and your arrogance. Right into hell. I sound like a fire and brimstone preacher tonight, don't I? Yeah, you don't mind it if it's delivered with a little sugar and some music. But here's the thing. It's been delivered to you in every kind of way possible to tell you the messages. Music, movies, books, preachers, evangelists, teachers, people of all sort for years have been warning you. But you kept on running. That's what the shadows always do from the light. They run the other direction. but you can't run from your own shadow. And that's why you eventually meet it in the dust of the ground. If all of you have invested in here in the Shadowlands is the temporary, the temporal, the short-term gain. If your pride means more to you than humility, opening the door for you to be freed and saved from it, well, I guess you get what you chose, don't you? But it's funny how those that choose it never ever want to take responsibility for it, and they will blame everyone else and play the victim as they're victimizing everybody else all the way to the bloody end. Now, isn't that amazing? That's what pride does. Somehow it convinces the prideful the nobility, the justness of their self-destruction and their final stupefaction before they're destroyed. A great example of that could be seen in the Nuremberg trials. I could give you endless examples in history. There are endless examples almost every single day. So what happens? Well, it's appointed to man to die once, and then the judgment. So what does pride do? It convinces you that you're either righteous when you're not, or it convinces you that that's all a bunch of myth and lies until you blink your last blink, you breathe your last breath, and find yourself having made a massive, lifelong mistake that costs you. You can run on, but it's always going to catch up with you. You can run for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. You know how that happens? Mostly by him just turning you over to your own avarice and hubris. Because you're more than capable in your own self-destructive ways to do that to yourself. But he'll also allow circumstances to take you out on behalf of the people that aren't like that. Because he's just. He's perfectly just. Yep, it's all over our media, our music. Why do you think evil always wants to try to control those things in regimes when they try to take over a nation? Because they know those things will testify against them, so they want to control all the messaging, right? They want to suck everybody into the gravity well of their self-destructive ways from top to bottom and bottom to top. And that means that they want control over everything, all the means of communication. They want to play God. They think they could be omnipresent and all-knowing. But it's only self-deception. And the people that are underneath those regimes, as oppressive as they are, they can't control all things at all times because they're not God. And even God doesn't have to control all things at all times. He made everything. He knows how it works. He built in checks and balances to all of it. So the folly of the fool and the tyrant is synonymous with the sleepwalkers in the shadowlands of the real. Down deep, they all know what they've done, what they're doing, and what they plan on doing. But they deny it, and because they deny it, they seek to accuse, slander, abuse everyone else. They become the victimizers. It becomes an inverted reality. It kind of feels that way right now, doesn't it? And so they try to eliminate any middle ground, and then they try to play the binary simulacrum at the polarities at the left and at the right. Those are the jaws of the beast. Now, I'm not just speaking in America, I'm speaking globally and throughout all of history. This is clearly seen. You see, we love our distractions, our diversions, so much so that we've made it the highest virtue here in America for diversity. A diversity of ways for us to self-destroy, self-destruct, and self-deceive ourselves. Instead of a plurality of people, coming together as one in all truth and love and justice and mercy from humble and contrite hearts. And the reason why we do that is because as a nation, we love our evil, our darkness. We like our sin. Do we not? We've elevated it to the highest levels and then exported it around the world. And they have done the same to us. That's what I mean by if you go the way of Mystery Babylon, you will pay the consequences of Mystery Babylon. If you go the way of Sodom, you will pay the consequences. When you abuse people and you destroy people and you lie, cheat, and steal, you kill, steal, and destroy, you are just doing the work of your father and mother. The father of lies and the mother of prostitutes. Because you prostitute everything that is good and true and corrupt it in your pride, greed, lust, avarice, and hubris. And you do it knowingly. Which is why you're in fear, because down deep you know there are consequences. And you're in confusion because you can't figure out how that's going to happen and when it will occur. Yep. You can run for a long time, run for a long time, run for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Better get those running shoes on. I'm telling you, you keep wearing them out fast. But you're not wearing them out fast enough to get ahead of it. Because it's already here and it's coming. It's the already and the not yet. You see, there are no more fig leaves to hide behind. You could try, but you just expose yourself. The more you try to control, the more you try to destroy and put others down and control them and destroy them and slander them and threaten them, the more you expose who and what you are and everything you've done and everything you plan to do. That's not a wise way to wage war. but you're very clever and cunning. Because you base things off of numbers deceived, based off of those whom you think you have conned into your mirage of idiocy, degeneracy, and desolation. But maybe you're the one that's being deceived by your own deceptions. I'll put money on that at any casino, because that's exactly what's happening. Because pride comes before the fall. And I see it happening right before my eyes. Now, everybody that's listening to this surely knows I'm not talking about everybody listening to it. But what I am talking to is that which everybody is in and in a war against, and those that are compromised by it. So don't go getting triggered, thinking I'm accusing and abusing everybody. I'm just laying it out straight for you. There's a reason why we call the path less traveled the narrow way. The way of truth and love that brings about justice and mercy from humble and contrite hearts. There is a reason why we say the truth will set you free, and that the symbol, the metaphor for the truth is the light, and the light exposes that which is hidden in the darkness and held you fast in the chains of your iniquities and the deceptions and lies and confusion thereof that was put on you to keep you there so it could devour you, because the shadow can't exist as long, it can't exist without something to eat, to devour, to consume. Just like a lie cannot exist without the existence of truth. Because it has to have something to lie about. It has to have something to distort, to misappropriate, misuse, misapply, and then mislead with. You actually have power over the very thing that's enslaved you. That's the big lie. The big lie is that you don't. And the only way that you can access that is allowing God to show you. Being humble enough to realize you cannot save yourself. You can't fix yourself. It's not about your works. It's a gift. And because you deny that so often, so many people, you're choosing a lie. You're choosing to remain a slave, right? And being in a war, you're a soldier for the enemy, a proxy at the very least, a soldier for lies, a prisoner to them, and ultimately you'll martyr yourself in your circumstances and become a casualty of it. Is your pride worth that much? Really, is it? Is the short-term gain worth that much to you that you're willing to stay the course and be swallowed up by the grave? It must be so many of you choose it. So many peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations. What do you think causes the nations and empires to rise and fall? The same thing I'm telling you about that people do. You see, people aren't willing to let go because they can't let go because they don't know how to let go, so they say. I can't tell you how many people tell me that they don't believe in God, they don't believe in truth. You know what I ask them sometimes? Well, should I believe you? Maybe you're lying to me right now. Because if they don't believe in truth, and they don't believe in God, then they're telling me that they believe in their pride. And they're telling me that they trust in lies. Now that's folly. And if they're telling me these things, why should I believe them? Because after all, they don't believe in truth. So if they don't believe in truth, why would I believe they're being truthful? See the paradox they're in? They're stuck in their own logic loop. It's as humorous as it is sickening and sad. That's what I mean, professing to be wise. Professing to be wise, they became fools and proved it in their folly. In their outcomes even. Now there's a measuring stick for you for policy, domestic and foreign. There's a measuring stick for you in terms of how you can measure the success or failure of your way. Now, if you're telling me they're a success when you are following policies that you know to have been a failure, well, then I know whose child you are. Father of lies. Because you're choosing your pride and you're refusing to learn the lessons from your mistakes. And that means that you probably should not be in any form of leadership whatsoever, have any influence, any wealth, any power. Because you're not only just a danger to yourself, your policies, your actions, your decisions, all of it is having macro level effects on everybody else. And that is exactly how you will be judged. Do you understand? I mean, after all, you were warned. Few of you should consider yourselves worthy of being leaders. You'll be held to a higher standard. And that higher standard is the more power and influence, wealth, all that stuff you have, the greater impact, the faster impact that you have on the totality of the whole. So you're judged accordingly. Now, if that doesn't humble you, then I sure as hell pity you for when you stand before the light of the eternal throne and have to make a case for yourself when you can't open your mouth because everybody, including you, see all of it that you're responsible for. But oh, you don't believe in those things, do you? Of course not. Because that means you would have to lessen your grip on your pride, which you hold like a comfort blanket. It's your safe space, but it's not safe. Nothing in this world is, including your lies. In fact, the prideful create the very conditions that make it even more unsafe for them and others, which exponentially increases their fear and exponentially increases the speed at which they fall to their destruction and meet their shadows on the ground in the dust. Now, if this is distasteful to you, well, I'm sorry. I could only be what I am. And besides, you're just going to call it a lie anyway, because you're just going to expose yourself that much more. Your visceral reactions are exposing you to yourself in hopes that you will actually be able to turn from the path that you're on that's leading you to your destruction. That's why you get triggered. There's a stronghold in your mind and in your body. Those are chains. That's what I'm talking about you need to be freed from. And the only way you can truly be freed from them is by the truth. And if the truth is something that you hate, well, you must love your chains more. But you're not going to be allowed to put them on everyone else. You're going to have to accept your consequences and the responsibility for your choices. Now, how about that? You know? You're going to keep running. You're going to keep running on. Huh? You want to, some of you. Some of you want to keep on running. But you've been running a long time, and it's wearing you down and wearing you out. At some point, you're not going to be able to run anymore, and you're going to have to make your final decision. I truly hope you make a good one. Because I don't wish to see anybody's destruction. But if that's your choice, well, I'd rather you be destroyed by your own decisions, your own avarice and hubris, being cut short, than to continue on wreaking havoc on a creation that belongs not to you, and destroying people that are seeking the truth, that are seeking to do justice and be merciful and love one another and looking out for one another. I would rather see them protected from your stupidity and your bad choices and your pride by you being removed from the equation than they having to pay the price for your stupidity and idiocy and pride. See, as it is for people, so too it is for nations. Now consider that. What do you see happening between nations? What do you see China doing right now? Is it not exactly what I've been trying to tell you for years? Are they not doing exactly what I told you? How about Iran? I can go down the list. They all do the same damn thing. Because just like people, because they're run by people, when you build your foundations on deception, lies, right, and pride, what do you think is going to happen when the final storm comes to test your life or your nation? It's not going to be able to stand. I don't have to play Nostradamus to predict things. You show me everything that you're going to do. But your pride will try to test that, I'm sure, because it always does. And the more you test it, the more you expose yourself, and the trap becomes smaller, and your time here becomes less. So how's that working for you? You ready to let go of stuff yet? As you've heard me say, the worst thing God could do is turn you over to what you think you want. Again, there are consequences. When you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. That's why judgment, that's why justice comes for all nations, not just America at this point in time. All of them. All of you. As clever, cunning, and crafty as you may think you are, you're still naked, and you'll either be humiliated or humbled. You will either be humiliated and destroyed and crushed, or you'll be humbled, restored, lifted up in freedom and liberty and all truth and love. That is your predicament. So, when you look at all those people, like I've been talking about, that seem like they're clueless about what's going on around them, they don't even see that they're in darkness. Pity them. Look out for them. Even though that you can't expect them to do the same for you. Example what truth and love in action looks like. Be an advocate for them, but do not be codependent to them. Practice tough love when necessary, but always be quick to forgive, quick to dispense grace, and quick to offer understanding as to why you're doing it. Love covers a multitude of sins. For you Christians, what do you think it means that you are called a kingdom of priests and prophets? What do you think that means? Do you not know what your role is here? I see a lot of fake religion here. I also see a lot of fake religion on both sides, because I call secularism a religion too, because it acts the same the further out you go. What I'm talking about is authentic relationship. Nothing real can be predicated on anything but the authentic, the original, the real deal, truth and love and justice and mercy and humility. Hence why I said in the last video about what I did in terms of love your neighbors as you love yourself, and why I showed you the dark side of that and how it's inverted in a lie. It's that clever. Because that's exactly what they do. They invert everything, and then they weaponize it against you. Call it as it is. You are not given a spirit of fear nor of confusion, but of peace, love, power, and a sound mind. But you have to fight for it. You are in a war. And like I said, there are but three kinds of people in a war: soldiers, prisoners, and casualties. Which one are you, and which one are you going to be? It's time to choose. As it is for people, so too it is for nations.
You may run for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Let me tell you, the God's gonna cut you down. Let me tell you, the God's gonna cut you down. My God spoke and he spoke so sweet. I thought I heard the shuffle of angels' feet, and he put hand upon my head. Great God Almighty, I'll tell you what he said. Go tell her long-tongued liar, tell that midnight rider, tell the gamblers, the revelers, the backbiters, tell them the God's gonna put them down. Tell them the God's gonna strike them down. You may run for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Let me tell you, the God's gonna cut you down. You may throw your rock, hide your hand, working in the dark against your fellow man, but it sure is God made the day and night. What you do in the dark will be brought to light. You may run and hide, slip and slide, try to make time with your neighbor's wife. Brother, let me tell you, just as sure as you're born, you better leave that woman alone. You may run for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Let me tell you, the God's gonna cut you down. Let me tell you, the God's gonna cut you down. One of these days you can mark my word, think her man